Look, the bottom line here is you would not be on this program with me unless you wanted better results, right? Think about it for a second. What results do you want to have in your life over the next 6 to 12 months? More money? Better health? Better relationships? How about just to have a relationship might be good too, right? Now, my question to you, however, is where do your results come from? Think about it. Would you like to be in better physical shape? Hopefully you said yes. Now let me ask the question. Do you realize that even though you want to be in better physical shape, that lying in bed in the morning and visualizing yourself running is not going to get you in shape? That ain't going to work. Have you tried that already? Yes, so have I. It just doesn't work. So what we know about results is what gives you results are the right behaviors. Certain behaviors give you results. In other words, nobody ever got fat eating one piece of chocolate cake. There's a series or pattern of behaviors that make that happen. Nobody ever got rich overnight. Really? I mean, really? There was a lot of behaviors and effort that went into making that happen. So certain behaviors get you results. Now, let me just ask you for a second before I go any further. Let's take getting rich for a second. How do you get rich? Now, if you're from where I came from, which is Ohio, the Midwest, the immediate answer is to work hard. Now, I want you to hold on to that thought for a second because that's a behavior, working hard. And we're going to see if that helps you get rich here in a second. So now let me ask you, where do your behaviors come from? Okay, good. Your behaviors come from what I call your mindset or your attitude. That's all the little voice stuff. For example, have you ever had at least one bad day? You know, the traffic's bad, you know, you had an argument with your significant other or your boss is having a bad day, and your day seems to go in the toilet the same way. Does that make sense? Of course. I mean, we've all been there. And one of the differences between great athletes, great business owners, great entrepreneurs, and just great parents for that matter, is the ability to control the mindset no matter what's going on around you. You think of people like Muhammad Ali or Michael Jordan. These were great athletes that no matter what was going on could control their mindset. We call that little voice mastery. You got to be able to control that. Now, the next question I have for you, now we're getting a little deeper into little voice mastery here. Where does that mindset and attitude come from? Think about it for a second. Well, I think you probably guessed. It comes from what I call your conditioning or your environment, how you grew up, where the influences around you, the conditioning. Yeah, you went to school, what you learned in school, what you learned in church, what you learned from your parents, what you learned from your friends and experiences. So conditioning drives the mindset or the attitude. So let me give you an example. We said, how do you get rich? And maybe instinctively, if you're like many people said, work hard. So where did that thought come from? What was the conditioning thought, conditioned thought? Well, in school, did you go to school? I'm sure you went to school. You went to school. Okay. So if you went to school, then you know that they told you that if you work very, very hard in school, you get good what? Grades. Now, is that true? Not necessarily for everybody. And then if you work really hard in school, they said, whoever they are, said, then you could get a good what? Job. Now, is that true? No. Over 1 million Americans have found out that that's not true. And then someone said that once you get a job, if you work very hard, you'll make a lot of money. But I'll bet that you know people that don't work nearly as hard as you do, but that make more money than you do. Now, I don't have a problem with hard work, but hard work alone, if that's your only source of conditioning, is not going to get you rich. And so what ends up happening with improper conditioning, even though you work hard, you're a good person, you do all the right things, you don't end up with being rich, you don't end up with the health, you end up with what I call frustration. That's right, frustration. And what frustration is your husband, wife, significant other yelling at you, how come we're not making it, getting ahead? Why is this not working? You're working like a dog, you're working 24/7, you're not taking vacations, you don't seem to be getting ahead even though you're doing all the right things. It's because somewhere in there, your conditioning isn't getting you, the conditioning needs to be changed to get the results that you want, which is what we're going to work on here. And most importantly, your little voice is blocking it right now. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I want you to turn to the results model part of your workbook. right now. I'm going to give you a little assignment. I want you to make a list of the areas of frustration you have in regard to the results that you want and that seem to be eluding you, whether it's around money, health, relationships, with your boss, with coworkers. And make an extensive list. Then, where do they come from? Where did you get? What's the conditioning that's making that happen? What is the behavior pattern that doesn't seem to be working, and where is that coming from? Again, don't worry about trying to solve it right now. Your brain is amazingly resilient, and once you understand origin and source, your brain will come to the proper conclusions, and you will begin to see results happening in your life immediately. So do it now.